Welcome to the Pivot Experience podcast, where leadership transformation isn't just a concept, it's a journey we take together. This is where real leaders share real stories about the moments that changed everything. In each episode, we dive deep into the pivotal experiences that transformed good leaders into great ones. Whether you're a seasoned executive, a rising star in your organization, or someone ready to take that next big step in your leadership journey, you're in the right place. Get ready to learn, grow, and maybe even find that spark that ignites your own leadership pivot. This is the Pivot Experience podcast, where your next breakthrough starts here.
What's up and what's happening, TPE family? My name is Alex Seal, and I've enjoyed working for the world's most caring company for the last 23 years, and you are now listening to the Pivot Experience podcast. The goal and point of this podcast is to engage with myself and guests that will give you stories of their experiences and leadership to help you pivot into your next. And on today's episode, it is no different. As you guys know, I like to talk to people all across the spectrum in many different industries. And today, I think we're in for a treat. I had the opportunity to engage with this individual lightly, and just reading their story and listening to their story, I am so pumped up about having this guest on our show. I have a young lady by the name of Hanna Bauer joining us today. She is with HEARTnomics, the economics of the heart, and I'm so excited for her to break down what that means to you guys, to my TPE audience, and how can you take something from this conversation, something from her experiences, to help you pivot into your next. How are you doing today, Hanna?
I am doing awesome. Thank you. It's a beautiful, beautiful Friday evening, but thank you so much for having me with your audience, your TPE audience, to be part of this show. And I'm excited. I'm in Atlanta, so we've had quite a bit of a weather. So it's been good to have a nice sunny day finally.
No, awesome. I'm encouraged to hear that things are on the up and up on your
Yeah.
side of the world here. And so let's just get into it, man. I've had a chance to look at some of your credentials, and they're amazing, right? You've got the Baldrige Excellence model training. You've got the John Maxwell leadership training. You've got Lean Six Sigma, which I'm actually personally looking into doing. But before we get to all of these things, before we get to all these amazing tools, I want to know the story behind HEARTnomics. What inspired you to start it?
Couple of things. Personal, of course, we a lot of times our message comes from our mess. I had a lot of messes going on. I think a lot of the stuff actually didn't come. You go through things. In my case, I went through a childhood heart disease that it was not something that was completely out of my hands. I really didn't have much to do with that. My main part in it as a kid is survival, plain survival, going through it, going through the motions. But I did get to observe a lot. So as a kid, trying to make sense of what was going on with the hospitals. Part of my story is not from the age of 4 up until about 16, 17, going with lethal rhythms. So I had to learn to survive not only the constant state of not being able to breathe, having pain, going through a lot of physical pain, but also the uncertainty that there was no solution in hand. So there was no cure at the time. In a lot of what my part in this was saying yes with my parents. Of course, my parents were the ones that had to say yes to be part of experimental procedures that could give me another chance of life. Fast forward later on as a professional, as a business owner, I encountered the same things. Now encountering as far as even like the physical field, but also the uncertainty that came with the marketplace, with the disruption in the marketplace. But one thing is where I started drawing back from is, although I didn't understand the things that were going on as a kid, I understood the language of love. And that's what kept me going through a hard time. From love from the people that were caring, the medical community, of course, love from my family. But the other part I learned in there was excellence. And I drew from that as well, because excellence, I realized there was a lot of failure points and going through my heart disease, going through even to getting to that cure. There were a lot of failure points in procedures and drugs, interventions but eventually those failures led to a breakthrough surgery called the heart ablation. So actually, I became the first child to have a heart ablation in 1992 that, at least in Atlanta alone, has saved over 3,000 other kids from that point. But that excellence, I learned failure through that, and the failure was painful. But I observed leaders, in this case, the medical community, and I observed family, and the feeling associated with failure, of course, is super scary, especially when you're talking about the heart. But looking at that at the heart of my business and being committed to excellence, being committed to failing, learning to fail, and learning to fail together with my team, and having the need for frameworks. And that's where my Six Sigma experience came in. That's where my Baldrige experience came in, because I was looking for that. I was looking for a way. How can I support my business while we're going through a disruption, uncertainty outside of our control, but that will, just like in my heart situation, would maintain us alive long enough for that solution to the marketplace, for the income to catch up, for the marketplace to open for civilization, that we can then reimagine not only the future, but reinvent how we position ourselves in the marketplace.
No, I love that. No, that story is amazing. It's one of triumph for sure. You know, to see that you're here and you are see what seems to me living your absolutely best life. Uh,
Yeah.
Beyond that, so I love that for you first and foremost. But I guess the one question I had from when you were talking, you said you were an entrepreneur. What kind of business were you in when you were dealing with these the second round of these issues?
Educational publishing. So we're educational publishing K through 12. Now, we were very tied to the school budgets. Something interesting in 2010 is when we felt the disruption. So for us, it's what we call the perfect storm. Well, at least I came to call it the perfect storm afterwards, because we know what happened in 2010 in the U.S. We started going through what's called the Great Recession, right? Like the real estate markets company, now education, and all of that doesn't feel the immediate hit. It's about a 2-year part. But also what was happening at the same time, where the budgets were frozen. Essentially, the money that was available, the pots of money, the budgets that were available for us to be able to, that enabled clients to buy our products, were frozen. There was no time in sight of when they would open again. But then there was something else happening. And that's what at the start for us was the Common Core. Now, we were a very niche, like, uh, content producer, so our market was in the state specific. But then suddenly, our market was open to everybody. The big players, everybody that was in the space was now suddenly both a peer and a competitor, making our products obsolete. And then there was this other thing called the ebook that was starting to take place. Now, we were over 99% print based. So now suddenly there's a new technology that was coming in that people were asking for. They didn't have the way to support it yet in school, but they were all asking for something. We didn't even know how to, what's a business plan with that. So I encountered those three all converged at the same time: budget freeze, new technology demands, and standards that made our product basically obsolete overnight.
Wow. Wow. And so are you still in that business or have you pivoted out of it?
I sold it. And from that is what I'm doing now. I mean, HEARTnomics came from that, because learning again from the failures, from the innovation that came from that, I got to help other people in the marketplace, other business owners that were going through the uncertainty, that were going through like wanting to change or being forced to change, right? Sometimes the change is forced upon us, and I started serving. That's where the speaking came in. I started being or speaking in the industry, speaking in the sectors, speaking to. I had the privilege to work with many of my peers, but also be able to start setting the pace for how can we figure this out together. And that's where my business, that's where HEARTnomics was born. It was figuring out, well, the first thing I did had to learn was the core, the heart being our people. It has to be people first. It has to be the process. Everything else, they're awesome, the systems, but they work for the people, and we gotta have them. There has to be a way that we have our people and our processes to work together. And I found the key to be leadership. And that's why I devote myself to leadership. I serve leaders. I help them grow in their leadership so that they can both help teams be successful, people take care of them, also have the processes and systems that are going to make their business, their organizations profitable and sustainable.
So the better part of your life has all been about resilience. From a young lady to growing a business, it's all about resilience. And now you have the privilege to be able to help companies work through trying times, right? And so I
Yeah.
guess this might be a little strategic and tactical, but like, what would you do, or how do you help companies that are going through, let's just say, let's have an outer body experience for a second, and you were working with a company that was going through the things that you were going through right now. How would you coach them to be resilient in a time where they're going through their perfect storm?
Well, one thing is that a lot of times they don't realize they need to be resilient. They know they need to get out of it. So like, but then they're not. People are not looking. Hey, I need help with being resilient. People don't tell you that. It'll help. Usually start showing up with a different symptom. So when I start working with companies, usually what are the symptoms? What starts telling you, what are the signs that maybe things are not going healthy? Well, high turnover. Like that's one. You have a lot of talent coming in, or a lot of time wasted because a lot of your people, a lot of your knowledge is walking out the door, which ends up happening if you don't have processes and you have the knowledge of the company, of the business in the person's mind, that knowledge is walking out. So I usually start seeing that there's no way for continuity. So that's one. We're looking at how are we maintaining that knowledge. The other thing is um, profits. They'll tell you right there that you can be selling a lot, but your expenses have gone up a lot too. So when you're not profitable, and that's another way, like, hey, what's happening? That this whole field of stagnation. So we start looking at those. How is your turnover rate? How is business, not just in sales, but how is your profitability? Because that starts telling me, and also the leaders themselves. What is the overall? And you can tell in a climate, you can tell in the different companies when you walk in there, it's there that feeling of burnout. So when I start talking with them again, getting to know the leader, where are they in this, but also understand what are your current processes and systems in place. And usually it's not that we start talking with that, it starts showing up with conflict resolution. They conflict is there. You can feel the energy. Like you can feel like, you go into a meeting, sometimes it's just you don't have the engagement, so it may show up as a lack of engagement. So they may start talking about that, but then like let's go back a bit. Well, why are they not engaged? Well, maybe because they do give ideas, but they feel like their ideas are not heard. So why am I going to give you an idea? I just want you to tell me what to do. And so the lack of ownership is there. Well, why is there a lack of ownership? Because there may be a lack of ability to have accountability, or even not only accountability, but not in a bad way, but even a way to reward that. So there may be not a clear reward process, a clear growth process in a company. So that may be what you're seeing there. There's also fear, a fear of like, hey, if I share this, I become replaceable. Instead of seeing sharing, delegation, as a way that I grow, I help you grow. And when I'm helping the organization win, I'm also winning because they don't have the clarity in seeing that. So we'll start talking about things like that. What does the growth program look like? What do people see a future being here? Are you rewarding the right behaviors? Are you rewarding the right thing? And of course, the number one, this all leads us to like the number one thing, the vision, the mission, the values of the organization. Because it's not like people don't know where they might be. It might be in a wall, it might be somewhere. Oh yeah, but we start asking about when you start talking to the leader, and when we get down to it, because it sounds so basic, right? I mean, it's like, of course we know our vision, of course we know our mission. We might not even know the tagline, but are you using that on a daily basis to make decisions? And goes back to the culture. So that's how we start working through it. It's not usually people don't say, hey, I need resilience or I need help with my processes or systems. No, nobody no, they don't need that. Right. I'm usually looking, hey, I need to find replacement. People are walking out the door or sales aren't coming in or we're not able to keep our bottom line. Usually that's what's happening, or we have a communication problem. And that's usually how it starts. And we go from there.
No, I love that. I think you kind of answered my next question. My next question was, how can leaders do a quick health check, or how do owners do a quick health check on whether or not they have alignment in their values, missions, and systems? And I think you just outlined, now, unless you have a different answer, I think you've already outlined some of that. But your reaction just now gave me an indication that you have another answer to that. So you are more than welcome to answer that differently if you
No,
do.
no, I loved it. You talked about my word. That's alignment. And like alignment, it's not like you align one time. I mean, think about your car. It's a consistent thing. I mean, like actually, the more you drive it, the faster you're gonna have to align it, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing to need alignment. That means you're going places. That means you're actually moving your car. That means you're actually going somewhere. That means you might be even like driving, going, further than you ever gone before. I've actually used my car, but that car with going to the destinations needs that alignment. And that's the same thing. So you have to know the rhythm in a business because you may have aligned one time, right? It's not just a one-time thing. The leaders have got to learn to understand, when do I need that alignment in my team, right? Because it might be internal. If you even think about the car, there's some parts of the car that go super, 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 super fast inside, but not the wheel doesn't go move at the same speed. But there may be certain parts of the team you have to understand that they're aligned to each other and align overall. So again, looking at the culture, looking at you have to know what healthy feels like for your business so you can align it and bring it back to health. I mean, you think about us, right? There's some days you may say, I feel off. Like some things like, I don't know, just you have this feeling it's off. Well, the same thing with an organization. As a leader, when you start being in tune, when you start being aligned, it's like something's off. I don't quite know what it is. You start looking, and that's what when I encourage leaders, is knowing that rhythm, knowing what does it feel like for it to be healthy. Maybe it's been a while and they don't remember because all we're doing is task oriented, and sometimes we get very busy in the task and don't even realize that the task really was not a value add activity in relation to the vision. So that's consistently, how am I adding value to the vision that we're looking forward? How are we adding value together? How is this adding value? How is my team adding value to the organization? And that honestly becomes the question: how are we adding value every day?
And one of the things, and first of all, that was very well put. And I think one of the things that I think about is one of the biggest stumbling blocks that I see in my business, and I just observe in others, is that they don't know what value looks like. Value isn't clearly defined, or it hasn't been a while since value has been realigned. What the value was 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 18 months ago might be totally different than what the business is needing now. And so it's up to you as the leader, for you guys who are out there listening, and you're really enjoying what Hannah's bringing to the table. You have to understand, in order to effectively add value and to know when those alignment parts are, you've got to know where we're trying to go. You have to get clarity in what the expectations are. And here's the deal: clarity in a measurable sense as much as possible, right? Because a lot of the things that you said in your original statement was, what are profits? What's turnover? Are you hitting sales? Like, these are clearly measurable things that you can benchmark and say, hey, January of last year we did X and we're running a decrease of that. Turnover is this. You can measure those things, and I would encourage you guys to get acquainted with those KPIs, those key performance indicators, so you can understand how and where you're looking for your team to add value. Because you might not have a season of high turnover, but to your point, it might be profitability, where you're able to retain people. Yeah, the culture's fun. The environment is great, but is there accountability, and is it conducive to creating goals that align with the mission? So I love I love the analogy. I'm a car guy, right?
Yeah, okay. You know it's better than
I'm
I
a car guy, and I love the analogy of that alignment because it isn't one time. A lot of times people think they bring in the coach and they do it once and that's the end all be all. Like, okay, we're good to go for the rest of the time. And like, no, there's more that needs to be done there.
Yeah,
So I love that. I love that you bring that up. You brought up communication.
yeah.
You mentioned communications, and we all know communication is important not only from a professional sense but our personal lives. Communication runs everything. What are some
Mhm.
signs of a healthy communication culture, and what is one thing you think leaders can do to improve that culture if it's not as healthy as it should be?
Well, from an operational perspective, there has to be a clear way to give and receive feedback. That is one. Like there has to be clarity. Like if I will need feedback on what I'm doing, and that's sometimes really where a lot of the what we call communication problems come in is if you think about reviews. They may happen once a year. Even though they're good reviews, like 360 reviews, where you get a whole lot of different your peers and everybody, but it maybe it's not really happening as often as it can. So, is there a way for me to receive feedback so that I can, as a member, as a leader, so that we can align? And is there a way that I can also give feedback? How do I get feedback? Is there a clear line of how we're doing this? How do I receive it? And what do I do with it? Once I have this feedback, what is that? So if that's what I come to find a lot of times with organizations when there's a communication problem or a breakdown, what they call is there's no clarity on how we do that. How do I know that I'm doing well today? Because we need like a today base. I mean, think about just the speed of change, the how fast everything is, the new tools that may coming in. On some companies, it's on a almost weekly basis, either new apps or new way. Now there's a new button to do, or a new accounting system, a new CRM system, a new way to do all this stuff. And I'm receiving and like an information dump, maybe even because they think a video is just going to help me. If I watch that and if I have any questions, will be available at this time from this time. Let's go. So you know what I mean? But it's from both sides because there's so much change. They want to become effective, but understanding like, hey, how do I really check that the information that I give out or that we put out or that we're doing with things, how do we know is being received the way that we intended it to be? So how do I know that they know? That's a question I keep on asking the leaders. Like, how do you know that they know? Says prove it. What is it? Well, they should know. Sometimes people, that's the question. Well, they should know. Everybody should know that. How are they expected to come like that from their family, from their school, from the college graduation? How are they supposed to know that? And is that asked at the time of hiring? Don't they know? I mean, like, how do you check that they do indeed know that? So even just from that filter, that one simple question, how do I know that they know? That's how you check. And if you can't really put a line after that, like, how do I know they know that? Then you want to look into it because that is where the communications breakdown come in.
Yeah, I love that because I think the one of the things that really strikes me in your response is, do you have a clear way for your team to provide feedback to you as the leader or owner of the organization? I think that's probably one of the things that's missing big time. And I don't know about in the work that you do. I literally just got finished talking to another leader in a different city, and I was challenging them to say, your superior made a decision that did not correlate to what you thought should happen or you guys' predetermined set of guidelines. There needs to be dialogue and feedback about how that made you feel, what you thought that
Mhm.
in the organization, because that two-way communication is critical for the success, like high level success. Like you might be getting by and getting some sales in, but when a team
Yeah.
member when a team member feels empowered, not to be disrespectful, not to, I want to call you out just for the sake of calling you out, but if there's something that they feel could have gone better, you really know you have a high performing organization when
Mm.
the team feels empowered to be
Oh,
able to
yeah.
use their voice and tell you, hey, I love what we're doing. However, if we just did this,
Oh,
this
yeah.
would be a little bit better. And the thing about it is the team member or the people on your team are feeling things more often than you are most of the time if you're the leader or the owner. And so there
Yeah.
might be some blind spots that you might have that feedback, going back to another driving example, you got blind spots, man.
Yeah.
And what better way, get a blind spot check from somebody who's doing this with you, who is going to bat with you. So I love that. um
Yeah, that's so good that you said it. And honestly, it's not you might, it's you do. We do. We
yeah,
all have blind spots. I mean, it's just part of being. We have blind
no,
spots. That's why we need each other. That's why we need
exactly.
teams. That's why,
Ex-
yeah, like you're not a leader if you're not leading somebody. Like,
right,
there's somebody you're leading. So you need your team because they're gonna see things that you don't see. So
absolutely.
we have them all, and it's not a bad thing. It's part of growing, it's part of leader, it's part of being a human. Like that's what
Right.
we have. Think about it. We don't have you. We always say that with our parents, right? Like we hear that. Yeah, like, well, sometimes we say that moms have eyes in the back of their head because we had that special thing. But think about it. We need that. You do need to have that communication because you want your team to be able to see things that you don't see. It's not a bad review on you if you as a leader didn't see it. It's bad if you don't have a way to hear it, to listen to it. That's the problem because you want them to see other things. You want them to see the things that you don't see. You want to leverage their skill. That's why you have them in your team because there's something that they have that complements you and we complement each other. So they're going to see that. We need them to see our blind spots.
You are firing on all cylinders, because this is the exact context of the conversation. I said, it's our job to be an extension of the ownership, right? It's our job to see things and run the business within the guardrails that they set forth,
Yeah,
but to add your strength into it, because you're at the table for a reason, not
yes,
just to solely say what they want to do, because of course we're going to do that, but your ability to think and identify challenges and opportunities is just as valuable as you being an extension of that individual, and you leveraging that to the
yeah.
betterment of, that's adding value.
Yes,
That
I'm
is
batting it.
that is adding value when you when
100%.
when you have the confidence to say, I know that, hey, I work at HEARTnomics. Hannah's the boss. I know what she wants. I know I understand her vision, and I'm gonna live that out. But there's something going over here with Peter
Hmm.
that doesn't align with that. I'm gonna advocate on behalf of Hannah, and if it's something
Yeah,
outside of my control, I'm gonna bring that feedback to her and say, hey, we gotta change something because
right.
something's not working here. Like you said it very well. You want your team to see that. You don't want them to
Yeah.
have the same blind spots that you have necessarily. Um, no, I love that. This is an amazing conversation. You guys out there listening, you've got to be taking notes right now. Hannah is giving out so much good information, and we're gonna definitely give Hannah. Don't allow me to forget this, to tell them how to connect with you at the end of this, because we're not there yet. We're not close to there yet. We got a little ways to go now. Hopefully, you're still doing good, because I'm really enjoying what we got
I'm
going
good.
on
It's
going
not
right
Friday night. I'm ready to go. Come on. It's the weekend.
here. Very good. I love it. I love it. So my
Yeah.
next question is that how can leaders balance emotional support for their people while adding strategic pressure for them to achieve at a high level?
Oh my goodness, that is such a good question because that is what you see a lot of times with leaders, right? Like you might hear, oh, well, I have a very caring leader, or like they're ones, and sometimes we confuse caring with letting things go. Like, oh, that means that they have all this stuff, right? I mean, we might
I need
confuse
whoa,
them.
whoa, whoa. Say that again. Say it again. I need you to repeat that, please.
Sometimes we confuse caring with being the leader, like just kind of letting things go. Like that's just that we confuse that. We think that that means care. But I mean, again, go back to looking also at the standards because That's where you care through the standards. You don't, again, the standards have to work for your team. I mean, and then also they keep people safe. Standards keep people safe. Standards give us a opportunity to be able to talk the arena in which we can talk, because if there's no standards, there's no stage that we can talk from, then we cannot grow from what we're doing. We're not really doing anything together. So, and as a leader, it is a very hard thing. Absolutely, it is hard, because you want to be able to lead with empathy, which of course we want. That we want empathetic leaders that understand their teams, but we also need teams that are, again, we're doing performance. We have to perform, and we have to perform at a level of quality that is going to not only support what we're doing here, but it's going to serve our customer, because our customer doesn't get served by us not keeping a standard for our internal team. If we cannot have a standard for our internal team, we're not going to be able to have a standard outside. And then you don't people don't know what you're for. Because if you're here one day and a different experience with another team member the other way, the other experience the other thing the other way, you don't know. It just may depend on what day of the week it is or who they talk to, all this stuff. And if you don't have a standard, then you have no way to keep that quality, to engage the customers, to engage the people. So a leader, and it's a muscle. You have to be aware of both, and that is one of the reasons, again, why for me so important, love and excellence. Because I love you, I'm going to keep those standards, because it's going to keep us working together. We cannot have different things. Again, integrity in service. We cannot do integrous work without having that standard. And again, coaching you through it as a leader, that's a way that you show that the emotional value. You become that coaching leader. Now, you don't always need to be a coaching leader. Sometimes, like, you think about high stakes teams. Think about SWAT teams. I've actually gone to be with SWAT teams. You can't be coaching them at time to we're in the mission, we're performing. It becomes a command, like I'm just hearing what my superior has to say and I'm doing that. There's a time for that. Not all the time. When they're off the field, they gotta work on building that rapport. We got to call them what went right, what went wrong, what are we doing next. But there's times where you have to become a leader that understands, like, hey, we got to get this done, because if we don't, it jeopardizes everybody. So you have to understand that you're not always have just one leadership style. You have to know even how to shift. Do they need me to coach them right now? Do they need me to be able to teach them right now? Do I need to become a training leader? Do I need to become the one that's giving clear direction? Do I need to be right now the figurehead? Do I need to be the one that is bringing them together? We need a camaraderie, because maybe we did go through a hard time, and they need to hear me right now. They need to know where we're going. I need to become that visionary leader for them. So it's understanding where is that team, where is that person, and being able to shift with that, but you're not in any shape or form jeopardizing the standard. Not because you're switching your style, you're leaving the standard to the side. On the contrary, I'm looking to meet the standard, exceed the standard. So what do I need to adjust? So I give my team what they need, and that's how I'm caring for them, because I understand what they need, so we can still accomplish that mission that brings us together, to this building together, to this company together. We need to accomplish the mission. The mission is why we're here. It's what keeps us in place. It's why we exist. So it is a practice. It is becoming aware. It is growing in your leadership. You have to know. I mean, like, you have to also learn to have fun with your team. There is a time for fun. You gotta have those times. We need that. We need those times where we're not just we're humans. We need that time where we're enjoying each other's company. We need to be able to enjoy and get to know each other. And it's not just about KPIs only. And KPIs are coming out even better when you have a team that has that high rapport, because we have fun together, we perform together, we're able to grow together, we learn together. And the leader that's able to bring that out, they have an amazing team. I mean, that's where we see innovation.
No, we call that doing life together.
Yes.
Yeah, we call that doing life together. The more life we do together, and it doesn't have to literally mean going, but you can have moments of that while you're at work, and it grows even better when you're away from work. But I love that y'all don't confuse caring with letting things go. I'm gonna bring it back. Do not confuse that. That is probably one of the number one things that, well, they think we don't care about them. No, you're holding them accountable. It's just,
Yes.
please don't. There's a way of doing it. There's a method. There's a strategy of doing so, and we let's make sure we're checking those boxes. But we can't. We're not caring about them by allowing certain things to get past. So I love that. What is one habit that you feel leaders need to unlearn because it's quietly damaging the team?
Oh, the micromanagement. That is a big one. Um, and it shows in different ways. It absolutely shows up in different ways. It burns out the leader, first of all, because they can't step away. And they feel that. If you're a leader right now and you feel like you can't step away because the whole thing falls apart, you got a micromanaging problem. That's a problem. That is silently killing people, yes, because the need to, as a leader, I need to know everything, see everything, correct everything, and it is it can show up in different ways. I mean, it shows up in subtle ways, like CC me on every email. You know, like it's a subtle thing. You don't think you're micromanaging. I'm just there for support. That people think like, oh, I just support if you need anything. But that many times it just creeps in, and you don't even realize it. In the moment that you realize it, when you get to that, is because your inability to delegate. Your day is full of urgency. Everything is urgent. Everything's urgent, and that takes away the drain. It's so draining for a leader. It's draining for a team. It's just draining overall. So I see that consistently because, well, either the rightly so, maybe the leader has delegated something and it did fall down the tracks. Maybe it did. But did we have something in place where we could learn from it? Because it's not sustainable. You as a leader cannot do everything. So you have to learn to delegate and delegate well. And delegate doesn't mean just dumping or, giving, hey, this is yours, figure it out. But do I have the right process and systems in place where they can get real time help? And how am I setting up the stage for that? And the difficult thing with this too, again, is because we're facing so much change that the level and the speed of change becomes exhausting. So a leader tries to hold on to everything because there's all this stuff. I just need to keep an eye on what's going on here, and then I need to be able to bring this other part here, and it becomes not because you're trying to micromanage or you want to do everything, so you're just trying to keep everything together, but it shows up as micromanagement.
No, no, no. That's something that we all can work on. Even me myself, I always say these conversations with these high level leaders it's therapeutic for me, and it's almost like looking at a mirror. Sometimes I'm sitting there listening to you for the sake of the audience, but I need to take some of this as well as medicine. What for the people who are listening, and they want to create a more resilient culture. Now, I know you said that usually comes up in different ways. They don't say how they want to be more resilient, but I think some people listening are realizing that they need resiliency. What is one practical step they can take right now within the next 24 hours to build that for their team? And I give you some time. I mean, you've been rapid fire on every question, and I tell you, you've been spot on point. But if you need to take a sec to think about that.
So if I'm building resiliency right now, I think one is I have to know, as a leader personally, I have to know how to self regulate. I have to know when I am not doing well, meaning that I start feeling that overwhelmed feeling. What are the times? I think as a leader, just individually, if we're talking about individually as a person, knowing our bodies, our energy, our well being is just as important as knowing our skill sets and our work in that. Because we may want to learn and we may have a lot of things that we want to do right now. but sometimes we're so drained. We wake up drained or foggy or not knowing what priorities or things that we're already dreading, that in itself takes so much energy. I think that's the first thing, because to ask a leader to do one more thing just becomes exactly that, one more thing that I have to be responsible or do today. So I think the first part, if I want to grow my resilience, which it is a muscle, again, it is something that comes out, is me as a person, as a leader, as what I want to do, is understanding my own energy level, understanding even the way that I work best, and arranging the day of work in as much as possible to fit that. If in the morning I'm best at coming in creative ideas, I need to block off that time. And I need to set those boundaries, because the only way I'm going to be resilient is if I learn, I take the time to learn from experience. So I have to have some time in my day to review. Immediately right now is just a simple review. What is one thing is make time in your day where you're reviewing how the day went and how did you feel about that. And we say it sometimes like, oh, it was a good day. It's a great day. We'll say, well, what made it a great day? What made it a good day? What made it a tough day? Because they're telling you, there's signs. Oh, it was great because, our team felt really happy about this, or it was great because we had great sales. So just even understanding that, making that time, blocking off that time, putting it as priority to review, and also blocking that time off to pause and check with yourself. Check in. You gotta know where you check in, and make your day work with you. Work in those times. Start learning. And that's one of the things with leaders, especially high capacity, high producing leaders, is like, hey, go, go, go. They feel like I gotta be on, and then I burn out completely. Like there's nothing left. That's what we're seeing. Some great leaders, honestly, just falling to different severe illnesses, physically in their body, or families. Or you see some great leaders we do have a crisis in leadership, and it becomes also because of this level of exhaustion, and we can easily turn that around. And it starts with taking the time. Just make sure you put in that time to review how your day went and check in with yourself. How did I feel about that? And then you'll start seeing, where do I need to start building resilience? Where do I need to come back? I mean, what's going on? That would be the first thing.
No, that was excellent, and I think that's something that's within all of our control.
Yes.
That's not going into the organization trying to convince nobody or nothing. You guys got to. It's just me, myself, and I. We've got to convince ourselves that we're going to earmark time to doing that. And I'll just add this: you'll be surprised what you'll start to number one, what you start to realize about yourself in terms of what you're doing, and are you doing too much of this or that? And I think you said something that was very critical. A lot of times we don't know what goes into a great day or a successful day, and building the habit of asking yourself that question, what made today great, will get you in the mindset of like, well, how can I do that again tomorrow? Or
Mm-hmm.
what made today tough? You identify that, and you're going to start to try to subconsciously avoid what made the day tough. So no, that's amazing. So I want to thank you so much for all this wisdom that you shared on today's call. But we've got one more thing.
Yes.
We've got one more thing, and this has become a staple here at the Pivot Experience. This is something that we do. I'll tell you this, I guess, kind of like it, because I know they get to laughing, and some of these questions get to be tough. And I've got a new set of words here. I've switched some things up, so you're the second person who are dealing with this new set of words for what we call tug of war. Okay, so let me
Oh.
explain to you what tug of war is. Tug of war is, I'm going to give you two words that you would love to have existing in your organization. But for the purpose of this segment, you've got to pick one, and you've got to tell me why you picked the one. Okay. All
Okay.
right. So are you ready to play with us today, Hannah?
Yes. Yes.
All right, let's do it. So the first set of words is confidence or humility.
Ooh, humility.
Okay.
And humility because I love to learn. And I want a team that's going to learn. And it takes humbleness to be willing to learn and to talk.
Okay. No, very good. Second set of words, vision or execution.
Ooh, vision. My execution is not good if I don't know where I'm going.
That's right. Having these conversations, I tend to think I know what the answer is going to be. So far in my brain, I am right. I am dialed in to what your answers are so far. But every now and then, y'all throw a curveball. So, courage or wisdom.
Oh, no, that was a tough one. Oof. I'll say wisdom. I'll say wisdom because that really learning, knowing that, I believe that's going to give me the courage. If I'm sure that if I get the wisdom, then I'm going to be even that more courageous. But I would say wisdom above all things. I got to Solomon, we see the great people is wisdom. And there's an abundance of wisdom. And really, we do need a lot of wisdom with things because many times we just don't know what the answer is. We need wisdom.
Absolutely. Urgency or patience.
Patience. So I think a lot of times my lack of patience has created urgency. Hey guys, if I had just waited, I would have made a mess of the things that I did.
Yep. Yep. No. Yeah, 100% correct there. And here's the last one: clarity or flexibility.
Mm. Oh, that's a really tough one. So I would say flexibility because I'm thinking survival.
That's the curveball. We were right there. I was like, "Yep, yes, yes, yes," and I thought you was gonna say clarity. I was like,
Yeah,
"There's every that would but again, I totally agree with you. That flexibility or agility is important. It's
yeah,
important. You love to have both, right? In the perfect world, but for the sake of this conversation, you pick flexibility. And I'm sorry, were you gonna
yeah.
offer more explanation?
No, I'm not because I think sometimes in survival you gotta be flexible. I don't have time to understand it. I just know I gotta survive.
Yep.
So I understand flexibility.
Yep. No, you're right. So, how can our listeners connect with you and learn more about Heartnomics?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. And definitely have had a great time being here with you. You can connect with me on www.heartnomics, and it's just like you hear the heart, HEART, nomics, NOIMICS.com. So, heartnomics.com. You can find me on LinkedIn under Hanna Bauer. You can also find me on Facebook if you go under Heartnomics or Hanna Bauer as well. So, I would love to connect with you all. It's exciting. This is what I love. You can tell. I love talking with leaders. So I would love to connect with y'all and be able to serve in any which way possible.
Well, I'm telling you right now, TPE family. First and foremost, go find her on LinkedIn. Visit her website. You're probably gonna have to run this episode back a couple of times because this is jam packed with gems of leadership and things that you can really do to help your organization pivot into their next. Thank you guys so much. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. This is how we get this
Yes.
information out to as many people as possible. This is how we're going to create change in our communities, in the business landscape, in our own organizations and businesses. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And until next time, TPE family, peace.
I
Hey guys, what's up? It's your friend, Pastor John R. Adolph from the Antioch Church in Beaumont, Texas. And I just want to slip this in right quick so you'll never forget. It's all about progress over perfection here at TPE.
Tap into the Pivot Experience where we help young, hungry entrepreneurs move on to the next step.